Hi everyone, welcome to our Passion series. I am so thrilled to be here today with Scott Bennett, who is both the CEO and co-founder of Skratch. Hi Scott.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm thrilled.
Good. Thank you so much for being here.
Honored.
You have an amazing app that I'm so excited to share with the world. I know you've been sharing it with the world, but now I get my opportunity to share with the world. Tell us, what is Skratch?
So Skratch is a mobile application that addresses the 40-year decline of teens in the workforce. A lot of people don't realize teenagers have been working since the beginning of time. At least that's what I like to say. But it's different now. The jobs that they could once get, like food service and retail, don't exist. And this platform is built to address that and allowing neighbors and communities to leverage that teen worker like they once did, but only in a different way.
So I agree with you. I am a mother and a stepmother to many teenagers, and we have that problem in my household. And I'm constantly on them about finding something to do. What are the opportunities that are offered through the app that they can find?
Well, the whole purpose is to allow teens to ebb and flow with their schedules. They look up market and see adults getting to work that way now, participating in the gig economy. So we've created those first work opportunities where it allows the teens to take things they're great at doing and choose to do those things. And at times that work for them. Things like tutoring another student, helping in a neighborhood with technology needs. Teens are amazing at that. Caring for pets. And then there's lots of different odd jobs. We found recently that people love to use teens to help set up and execute events. So those are just some of the really good opportunities that are, as needed, work with the teen schedule and allow teens to shine.
What problem did you see, and which you've given us a little glimpse of it, but what was the problem that you set out to solve when building this?
Well, you mentioned you're a parent of teens, and I have two teenage daughters. So it was my own problem, really.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard, right? And my partner and I both were dads who grew up working. It was an expectation when I grew up, and I realized school's doing all it can to give our kids a foundation, but they're focused on the core. And I wanted to solve what I call the opportunity decline, the ability to teach teenagers about opportunity through income. Nobody was doing that, and as a dad, I looked out at the landscape and said, I too don't know how to tell my kids to solve that problem. So I recognized that something needed to be done in a way that really matched what the teenager today expects. So that's why Skratch was built.
That's amazing. You know, it's interesting because I often say that it's really hard to learn a lesson in life if you don't have skin in the game. And it's something I really do struggle with. I have great kids, by the way; they're amazing. But I'm having this issue with skin in the game. So thank you for helping.
You're an entrepreneur, right? And you knew how to create opportunity, and it's incumbent upon us as parents to teach that same value system to the next generation. Frankly, because without that, it'll take them longer to get started, longer to be productive, and it wasn't really an option for me, and I'm glad it wasn't.
Right.
Because it's led me on that path.
I think the truth too is, if I might say so, is while it wasn't an option for you, it was an option for me. I don't think my parents forced me to work, but I wanted to work. Like, to me, that was a sense of freedom and flexibility and taking ownership of my life. Do you think there's a reason? Like, what do you think is the underlying element that's changed, with our kids today?
It's a great question. It's something I think about a lot. Why I, like you, wanted money, because I felt like money gave me independence. I tell people the story that with my first work and the money that I accumulated, I was able to buy my own car stereo. I had one of those ones that would flip off.
Right.
You could take it off and take it with you, and it was a big deal. It made me feel some pride that I had earned that, and I think, quite frankly, the economy's been really good the last 10 years, even though we had a recession in 2008. And so I think there's this lack of opportunity that I mentioned, but there's also this desire for our generation of parents who want to give their kids a magical childhood.
Yeah.
And by not working, we think we're doing them a favor, but it's quite the opposite. And I think that's part of it. And then I think the other really big thing is that teens are doing things today very differently than we did. If they're playing a sport, or they're in the theater or in the band or in the choir, they're not just doing it as a recreational activity. It is a full-on commitment for them, meaning lots of hours of practice. It's what they do. It's who defines them. And that means things suffer and work and first work is one of those things.
That's a very valid point, because I remember as a kid, like if I would take a dance class, it was once a week, or it wasn't this, my daughter's in dance and I love her dance teacher, but it's a big commitment, and this is not, it's competitive, but this is not on the level of competitive that some people are into. So that's a very good point. You started Skratch from scratch. And what a great name, by the way. Making an app has got to be like a whole other set of talents. What was the process in developing this app?
You know, it was not something native to me personally. I'd never done that before. The first thing is having a great technical partner, somebody who has experience in development and coding. But what it really started with was what I always refer to as the offline experience. How do people really experience what it is that we do? It's not so much about the taps on your phone, but it's the way that they experience that in today's world. That's what people expect. So thinking about all the scenarios that people would expect from the app, things like, how do I cancel? How do I book? How do I get paid?
Right.
What are the messages that happen when it doesn't work the way I want, right? So we played a lot of scenarios, and that was really the beginning of how we developed this and helped lead us down a path. And that's really the process you follow.
So much thought to go into building an app. It's probably constant, right? Like
it is
never ending.
Well, it is never ending because I think in order to build a great app, you have to involve the users in that experience.
Right.
You need to listen to user feedback. Users will tell you how to be successful. So we listen to them and we iterate based on the feedback we get.
Constantly making it better.
That's right.
So I would assume, with some heavy knowledge just from raising teenagers, that it comes with its own set of issues. What are some issues relative to working with teens?
Well, they're very, very elusive. We learn that from the way that they are social media, and the fact that things like Snapchat exist are because the teens want it to be that way. When they love something, they'll make sure they're sort of part of that sharing culture. When they don't love something, they'll make sure you know that too. And that can, that's a fine balance, right, between those two things.
Right.
Speaking to them, they use different channels to be spoken to. So email isn't for teenagers, text message is. So learning how to speak to them on a channel that they will listen, and in a way that they will listen, and mostly making them feel as though this is for them. They are a generation that expects things to be a way that they want, and so we had to create that in our app, and we have to create that for them every day in the way that we approach serving them. The other side of it is making sure we set them up to look successful for the people who are going to hire the services of that teen.
Right.
And presenting them in a light that maybe people currently don't see them is important. So we want to involve them in that process as well.
Right. There's definitely a bad rap for millennials and the younger generations that continues on.
It's definitely part of it, but I told somebody yesterday and they laughed. The bar is really low, which means it's great for the teenager. If they just show up, they're actually exceeding expectations. So it's never been easier to be successful as a teenager when you're using Skratch.
Is it also very difficult for you to balance the communication between the people that need the jobs filled and the teenagers? Like, it's sort of being a mediator in a sense.
Yeah, look,
right?
We refer to ourselves as a platform, right? It's a safe place for both parties to interact. There's no social media today where a teenager and an adult can safely, at least in the eyes of the universe, communicate.
Right.
Yet when it's about something like this where there's an opportunity for first work, this makes it safe. And so we take it very seriously about creating a safe experience, a safe exchange. We try to set the ground rules and let everybody know what's expected of them. We have ratings and reviews and things like that to make sure that everybody walks away feeling that it was a great experience for them.
Oh, that's wonderful. So we obviously are always seeking to pull out the passion, which exudes out of you. But what are you the most passionate about? What keeps you coming back? And because this has got to be a lot of work daily, and you're building something that did not exist. You're not just showing up. You're really you're building something. What is the passion behind that?
Well, first and foremost, I just feel like every day we can make a difference. I feel like when one transaction happens, two people's lives are changed. Right. The person getting something done and that teenager who maybe didn't have a viable opportunity. So that every single day we get these user stories. So that's just kind of in our DNA. But more recently, as we've grown our business and to see others come around, myself and Ronan, and pour themselves into the business, to take care of it and to see the vision and buy into the direction, it's everything to us. We know that nothing gets built without great people, and surrounding ourselves with great people keeps us motivated every day. And really, quite honestly, we're doing something together. We're sharing in this bigger vision, and we all relish the opportunity to do that, and that's a lot of fun.
Have you seen a change in your relationship with your daughters?
You know, I'm glad you asked. I have 2 teenagers, as I mentioned, but my older daughter is in the college application process. And among the things you have to do is write a lot of essays, answer a lot of questions. And I was really taken because they've sort of been in their own lives, as most teenagers are. Their dad's being an entrepreneur, doing something that he's passionate about, and I certainly talk about that. And I wasn't sure if I had made any imprint on them until my oldest daughter came and said she wanted to write her essay about watching me build the business. And to me, I said, if nothing else is successful, she was really thoughtful in the way that she watched what I was doing and how she articulated that to her own life, what it meant that she was able to see me do this, go for something that was so much bigger than myself, to not give up, to believe in a purpose. And so I know that has had an imprint on her. And for my younger daughter, it was very funny. She was not of an age where she could participate because we only allow teens to be 14 when they can first get on the app. Okay. And she wasn't there, so she was excited that she was able to do it. And now as she's done gigs, I think she takes a great sense of pride because it wasn't available to her, and then it became available. So to watch her experiences on the app is different. And we talk about the business and the things that I face every day. I'm very open about my experience because I want them to see that if there's something out there for you, you can go get that.
I think that is so beautiful, really. That's amazing. If one of my children wrote an essay with regards to something that I had taught them, I can't even imagine how that must feel.
It's certainly a great report card, right? Because we never know if they're listening or paying attention. Right. So to see that on her own decision to do that, was very fulfilling. And then, of course, I had to edit and proofread it. Right. So maybe
we got to make it perfect.
Maybe that's why she wrote it, so she knew I wouldn't agree to edit it unless it was about me. No, but it was definitely a very humbling to read.
It's beautiful. You challenged me today when I walked in here, and because you've been through these interviews before, and this is not your first rodeo. You've been actively growing your company, and you spoke about being a great interviewer, which is something that we're constantly trying to get better at and more comfortable with. Is there something that I should ask you? Is there something that I missed that you think you want to answer?
I think it's a great question. I think there's a chemistry that goes on, not only being a great interviewer, but making the person you're interviewing be a great interviewee. I think there's a chemistry that happens, and I think a lot of it is just about being engaged, right? And hearing as we talk, right, things that we both relate to, because we're parents, we're entrepreneurs, right? We're passionate people. I think the biggest thing that people often don't ask is, what keeps me up at night? What keeps me up right now?
Yeah. Please tell me what keeps you up at night.
Well, you would think, right, it would be something about the business, right? Or something about family. What keeps me up at night is there's that to-do list that we all have in our head, right, of things that you can't get to. And so when I started the business, there was never enough people, never enough resources. That list was never going to get taken care of. Today, what it is just finding one thing that you can be successful at the next day. Thinking before I go to bed, just think about one thing I know I have to accomplish tomorrow. Because if you could do that, then it's been a successful day.
You can at least check it off.
Yeah, and I've heard people use the analogy about making your bed. I don't like to make my bed, but if you make your bed, in the morning, then you feel like your day is going to be successful from that. So just going to bed, allowing yourself setting an achievable goal every single day that you can actually achieve. It doesn't have to be monumental, but it's something, and that usually spurs something else and something after that. So that's what keeps me up, is making sure what's that next thing tomorrow.
Thank you for sharing that, because I am often up at night. I wake up in the middle of the night with still worry, and I think that that's part of being an entrepreneur. But if I can start channeling that energy into something positive like that and saying, okay, it's never going to be easy, or we wouldn't do this.
That's right.
So what can I do tomorrow that's going to fulfill me and make me better? I'm going to take that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Good. Well,
because that is something I struggle with. So thank you.
All of us that are doing anything entrepreneurial, anything new. That's why we got started in the first place.
Right.
And it's the littlest action, that we do every day is to say, I'm going to set things up for myself to feel the sense of achievement, because believe me, this is really hard. And if you don't win, if you don't have a win every day, then you will often just succumb to the losses, and I refuse to do that.
Yeah, and that's how you will not give up.
That's right.
Just by forcing it through.
That's right.
Thank you for that. That was perfectly beautiful, and I really am going to take that to heart.
Good.
Okay, so I want everybody to know how they can find you. That's very important to me. Little bit of self-promotion through me.
Well, good.
How do they find out more about Skratch? How can they, download the app? Tell us about that.
So we're proud to say that now the app is available on both iOS and Android. When we started, we were really focused on iOS and Apple users only because it's easier from a development cycle. And you can find the app on both the App Store and the Google Play Store. You can also visit our website. There's downloadable links right there on the homepage at Skratch, skratch.co. And right there you can click through and get easy access to the app. And if you want to contact us for any questions about the business, why we're doing this, how it's going to be great for you or your children, you can email us at support@Skratch, skratch.co.
Listen, parents, Scott and his team of amazing people are trying to help us solve a problem. It is a problem that I deal with every day in my household. So I thank you and I commend you for your efforts. I will be behind you all the way. You've got the support of so many people.
Thank you.
But look out for this app. Watch for what they're doing. Be a part of this movement. Let's get our teens to understand the importance of work. We cannot teach it to them if we are not teaching it to them. So thank you. I'm so passionate about this and I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thanks for being here.
Of course.